Alright, let's do a free response question for AP Microeconomics, Unit 4. Alright, so this is a question on a local monopoly. So we're going to draw a correctly labeled graph for Philip. Alright, so we already know we have quantity on the x-axis, price on the y-axis. And it's earning positive economic profit. So we have our demand curve, like always, and it's sloping down because it's a monopoly, and we have the marginal revenue curve. That's twice the slope of the demand curve. Alright, so what else do we need on this graph? We need to find the profit maximizing quantity. Well, to find that, you need a marginal cost curve. So it could be a straight line, this has to be curving up. So label it MC, marginal cost. I will then say this is the quantity, Q, and do not go over here. You have to go up to the demand curve because the monopolists will want to charge as much as they physically can. So they're actually going to say this. So QF. So this is PF. Alright, so now this is AI and II. Alright, and so the deadweight loss is going to be the area that it's going to be a triangle bounded by the marginal cost curve, marginal revenue curves, the quantity, and it's going to be pointing at the socially optimal quantity. So if we look at this point would be the socially optimal quantity, because if we imagine this as a marginal social benefit curve, this is our marginal social cost curve. So this is going to be pointing here. And so it's going to be an arrow pointing at this point. And so it's bounded by our quantity. So this would be our deadweight loss. And then we should probably also draw our average total costs, which will have a minimum ATC. It will have a minimum when it intersects the marginal cost curve, but that isn't taken into account with the deadweight loss. Alright, the maximum quantity, QZ. So this is like if you wanted to regulate a natural monopoly. So that is where average total cost intersects the demand curve. Because if you wanted to put this here, then they would be making zero economic profit. So when you regulate a natural monopoly, this is where the government will want to regulate, where the average total cost intersects the demand curve. And so this is part A. Alright. Which of the following will increase or decrease? And so assume that the fixed costs increase. Well, the deadweight loss is dependent on the marginal revenue, the marginal cost curve, but the marginal cost does not affect, or the marginal cost is what affects the deadweight loss, because if we said the marginal cost curve was over here, right? This is not what you would draw in your test, but you would, right? But then you would draw this, and so this is what you would draw. So the marginal cost is what affects this deadweight loss, not the fixed costs. And so because the fixed costs are increasing, it does not matter that there is an increase in fixed costs because it's the marginal cost that changes the deadweight loss. So there is no change. It will remain unchanged. Remain unchanged. So I'm not going to write all of what I said, but it's the idea that the deadweight loss is dependent on the marginal cost, and the fixed cost does not affect the marginal cost. All right, and then the economic profit is going to decrease because the profit of the monopolist here would be price minus average total costs times quantity. So this would be profit. I'm going to shade this in green. This would be the monopolist. So that green shaded area would be our profit, or the monopolist's profit. However, because the average total cost is the total cost divided by quantity, if you increase the fixed costs, the average total costs would increase. And so this would be our new average total cost curve, something like this. So you would go up to this point. I'll shade it in yellow now. So this looks like a mess, and this is why you don't have to draw this on the AP exam. But this would go to here, and the profit would be less. And it doesn't say explain, so you could just say decrease. But I explained it so you guys could get that point too. Alright. What has to happen to remain in the short run? Well, the price must be greater than the average variable cost. Because if it's less, we will be losing money by maybe paying workers or operating some electricity or whatever that might be. And so if you lose, then you're going to shut down, not necessarily exit the market, but you're going to shut down during that time. So you just say average variable costs must be less than price at the profit maximizing output, which is here, because you just have to be specific, saying at the profit maximizing quantity, because you could still be losing money at any other point, and this is just the best point, because over here, right, if we were operating over here for some reason due to like a government, we would be losing money, and they would eventually shut down and exit the market. And so, but they won't shut down here. They won't shut down if there is no government, because they're going to charge it here, and they're going to be making some profit. All right. So what happens? So the demand for gasoline. So this is true. You don't even have to read this header for part C, because this is just understanding of the concept of short run. But here we actually have to read the header. So gasoline demand decreases. So maybe I should draw a new graph because this one looks like a mess. But profit maximizing quantity and price. Okay, so So we have our two graphs. We have our demand. We have our marginal revenue. And you won't, I'm just going to draw marginal cost. Let's see. Boom. Boom. MC. A. T. C. Alright. And so the demand is actually decreased. So I'm not going to say that much. I'm going to say it like does that. And so marginal revenue prime and D prime. So it was here. I'm going to do this in a different color. So let's do, so it was here. And now it's gone to this marginal revenue prime curve. And so we go up to the new demand curve, and both the profit maximizing quantity and the profit maximizing price have decreased because it was Q1, Q1, Q2, and this was, why did I draw a dotted line here? This was P1 and this was P2. So we went down in both quantity and price. And that's it.